Lights, camera, action, and welcome back to Soundtrack Collector. I'm your host, Christopher Spencer, author of Film and Television Soundtracks 1950 to 1979, a critical history published by McFarlane and Company. We are making our way through a series of videos covering the history of science fiction soundtracks since the dawn of cinema. The first episode covered the silent era to the 1950s, followed by an episode on the 60s and 70s, another on the 80s, and last week we looked at science fiction scores of the 90s. What's become clear to me is that each decade sees an increasing number of sci-fi movies, due in part to improving visual effects that help tell otherworldly stories and the popularity of franchises. Sci-fi soundtracks of the 2000s push the boundaries, blending orchestral and electronic elements to create immersive sonic landscapes. Scores like James Newton Howard's I Am Legend earned praise for seamlessly integrating new motifs with emotional depth, while Clint Mansell's Moon and John Murphy's Sunshine stood out for their atmospheric intensity. Strong thematic cohesion, as seen in Michael Giacchino's Star Trek reboot, also won acclaim. However, some scores fell into some common pitfalls: over-reliance on generic action tropes, excessive electronic textures, and controversial departures from iconic franchise themes. Fragmented album releases frustrated fans, though later expanded editions helped redeem certain scores. Despite these criticisms, the era produced some of sci-fi's most innovative and emotionally resonant soundtracks, proving that great music could elevate even the most divisive films. Now, before we get rolling, I should mention that I've had to cut out superhero movies from this video for the sake of brevity. This is a decade we got multiple entries on Spider-Man, X-Men, the Hulk, not to mention Iron Man and Superman Returns. While there are definitely sci-fi elements in those movies, I didn't want this video to become bogged down with superhero content. I've included them in earlier episodes mostly for the sake of variety, but going forward I'll leave them out and cover them in a future episode about the history of superhero soundtracks. Starting in 2000, we get Mission to Mars with an Ennio Morricone score that transcends the film's lukewarm reception, standing as one of his most ambitious works. Blending orchestral beauty, haunting choral passages, and avant-garde textures, Morricone captures the vastness of space with synth pulses, pipe organ motifs, and Ligeti-style dissonance. A Heart Beats in Space layers ethereal electric guitar and soaring choir, while Sacrifice a Hero delivers a 13-minute emotional climax with Baroque trumpet solos and militaristic snare drums. Even if the film is divisive, Morricone's score remains a masterclass in cinematic storytelling. Next up, Graeme Revell's Red Planet score defied sci-fi conventions with a bold fusion of operatic grandeur and industrial electronica. Blending sweeping orchestral elements, pulsating synths, and deep male choirs and ethereal soprano vocals, Revell crafted an eerie, hypnotic soundscape. Emma Chaplin's 14th century Italian vocals in The Inferno and The Fifth Heaven add gothic elegance, while minimalistic piano and discordant synth motifs heighten the film's themes of isolation and survival. Though its aggressive electronic moments polarized some listeners, the soundtrack remains a cult favorite, proving that film music can outshine its visuals. Next up, Jerry Goldsmith's Hollow Man score heightens the film's high-tech horror with eerie strings, pounding brass, and unsettling electronic textures. The main theme's descending string motifs and pulsating synths set an ominous tone, while aggressive timpani and cascading orchestral runs drive the action. Tracks like The Hollow Man blend mystery and dread, while Bloody Floor unleashes relentless dissonance and rhythmic intensity. Though reminiscent of his scores for Total Recall and The Haunting, this score showcases Goldsmith's late career experimentation, proving once again his mastery in making the unseen feel terrifyingly real. Graeme Revell's Titan A.E. score blends grand orchestral themes with industrial beats and ethereal choral textures, capturing the film's cosmic scale. Tracks like Creation soar with triumphant brass and sweeping strings, while Titan Launch pulses with synth-driven urgency. Paired with a rock soundtrack featuring Electricity and Jamiroquai, the music aimed for youthful energy but drew mixed reactions. Though the film struggled at the box office, Revell's score gained recognition over time, with the 2014 expanded release solidifying it as a hidden gem in animated sci-fi. Trevor Rabin's The Sixth Day score blends orchestral power with electronic tension, amplifying the Schwarzenegger film's futuristic thriller elements. The main theme introduces a Middle Eastern-influenced brass motif, setting a mysterious tone for its cloning and identity themes. Tracks like A Rooftop pulse with thunderous percussion and synth-driven urgency, while Adam's theme offers a rare moment of emotional depth with melancholic piano and strings. Though some critics found it reminiscent of Rabin's Armageddon score, this score is high-energy fusion of orchestral drama and sci-fi soundscapes has earned it recognition as an underrated gem in his catalog. Graeme Revell's Pitch Black score fuses industrial electronics with orchestral intensity, crafting an alien and oppressive atmosphere that mirrors the film's survivalist horror. Tracks like Crash Landing pulse with chaotic synths and industrial beats, while Race Against the Sun uses Middle Eastern percussion and orchestral swells to heighten urgency. Haunting vocal elements, ethereal whispers, and processed distortions add to the film's eerie uncertainty. Though some critics found its electronic-heavy approach abrasive, the score has gained a cult following, especially with its expanded 2022 release, solidifying its place as a bold experiment in sci-fi horror music. Don Davis's Jurassic Park 3 score blends John Williams' iconic themes with his own high-energy orchestral style, amplifying the film's darker, suspense-driven tone. Known for his intricate action writing in The Matrix, Davis infuses frenetic brass, intense percussion, and eerie choral textures into tracks like Clash of Extinction. While classic motifs return, new themes such as the hopeful Kirby family theme add fresh emotional layers. Some critics felt Williams' influence overshadowed Davis's creative imprint, but expanded releases highlight the score's technical brilliance. A thrilling fusion of nostalgia and modern orchestral intensity, Jurassic Park 3 remains an underrated entry in the franchise's musical legacy. Danny Elfman's Planet of the Apes score takes a bold percussion-heavy approach, redefining this franchise reboot's sound with industrial electronics and tribal orchestration. Moving away from Jerry Goldsmith's avant-garde 1968 classic, Elfman crafted a militaristic, rhythm-driven score that mirrors the film's intense dystopian setting. The main titles introduce an aggressive brass motif and relentless drumming, setting a tone for the soundtrack dominated by primal energy. Tracks like The Hunt pulse with industrial synths and frenetic percussion, while Old Flames offers a rare moment of melodic reprieve with Middle Eastern-inspired woodwinds. Though some found the score overwhelming and the album mix muddy, expanded releases unveiled greater thematic depth, earning it retrospective praise. Elfman's Planet of the Apes remains a divisive yet ambitious entry in his catalog, embracing raw percussive force over traditional melodies to deliver an audacious, unrelenting sonic experience. John Williams' score for AI Artificial Intelligence is a mesmerizing blend of orchestral lyricism and avant-garde experimentation, mirroring the film's exploration of artificial consciousness and human longing. Known for his lush themes, Williams incorporates tender piano melodies such as Monica's theme, haunting choral textures such as Where Dreams Are Born, and minimalist electronic rhythms on Journey to Rouge City, crafting a soundscape that shifts between warmth and eerie dissonance. Collaborating with soprano Barbara Bonney and his son Joseph Williams, he infuses the score with operatic vocals and futuristic synth elements, bridging Spielberg's sentimentality with Kubrick's cold precision. While some found the original album's structure uneven, expanded releases revealed the score's intricate thematic depth. Over time, AI has emerged as one of Williams' most ambitious works, a poignant meditation on love, loss, and the nature of existence through music. James Newton Howard's Signs score is a masterclass in minimalist suspense, transforming a simple three-note motif into an evocative exploration of fear, faith, and fate. Drawing inspiration from Bernard Herrmann's 10-string arrangements and post-minimalist repetition, Howard crafts an unsettling atmosphere with pulsing brass, eerie flute motifs, and chaotic dissonance. The climax, Hand of Fate Part 2, delivers an emotional catharsis, resolving the score's recurring tension with a triumphant orchestral swell. Though some found the original album's brevity quite limiting, expanded releases have revealed the score's full depth, solidifying Signs as one of Howard's most iconic works. With its hypnotic simplicity and relentless intensity, the soundtrack remains a defining example of how music can elevate psychological horror into something deeply profound. John Williams' Star Wars Episode II, Attack of the Clones score seamlessly blends nostalgia with bold new themes, capturing the film's mix of political intrigue and tragic romance. At its heart is Across the Stars, a sweeping melancholic love theme for Anakin and Padme, layered with echoes of Imperial March to foreshadow Anakin's fate. The score also introduces intense action cues like Zam the Assassin and Chase Through Coruscant, featuring rapid percussion and dissonant brass, while Confrontation with Count Dooku showcases grand choral swells. Though some critics found the original album's track selection fragmented, expanded releases have highlighted the score's depth and cohesion. With its lush orchestration and intricate leitmotifs, Attack of the Clones remains a standout in the Star Wars musical saga, proving Williams' ability to elevate even the most divisive entries in the franchise. Also in 2002, John Williams provided the score for Steven Spielberg's Minority Report, based on the Philip K. Dick story. This score masterfully blends orchestral noir, modernist dissonance, and electronic textures to capture the film's dystopian vision of fate and free will. Anchored by Sean's theme, a delicate piano and strings motif symbolizing loss and hope, this score contrasts tender moments with relentless action cues, like Anderton's Great Escape. Skittering strings and rhythmic brass in Spiders heighten suspense, while Visions of Anne Lively introduces eerie synth pulses and processed vocals. Williams' use of music by Schubert and Tchaikovsky adds classical weight to the film's psychological depth. Though initially critiqued for fragmented pacing, expanded editions have highlighted its intricate textures and thematic ambition. As a bold fusion of noir and futurism, Minority Report is one of Williams' most experimental and underrated scores, offering a richly layered auditory experience that deepens the film's philosophical core. Klaus Badelt's Equilibrium score mirrors the film's dystopian arc, evolving from sterile electronic minimalism to sweeping orchestral catharsis as the protagonist rediscovers emotion. Early tracks like Dose Denial pulse with industrial synths and distorted beats, reflecting the rigid control of society, while listening to the gramophone incorporates Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 as a symbol of awakening. The score reaches its emotional peak in Revolutionist Rolling, where triumphant strings and choral swells underscore the climax. Though initially dismissed as derivative, expanded releases have highlighted its thematic depth and nuanced progression. A fusion of cold futurism and soaring orchestration, Equilibrium soundtrack remains a cult favorite, capturing the tension between oppression and liberation through its evolving musical landscape. Cliff Martinez's Solaris score for Steven Soderbergh's remake of the Andrei Tarkovsky film of the Stanislaw Lem novel is a mesmerizing fusion of ambient minimalism and orchestral depth, perfectly capturing the film's meditative exploration of love, memory, and isolation. Built around a recurring three-note motif, the soundtrack weaves hypnotic gamelan rhythms, ethereal strings, and unsettling electronic textures, creating an otherworldly yet deeply emotional atmosphere. Inspired by Brian Eno's ambient works and Ligeti's avant-garde compositions, Martinez crafts a sonic landscape that is as introspective as the film itself. Though some found its restraints too subtle, expanded releases have revealed its full depth, securing Solaris as a landmark in sci-fi film music, an evocative, transcendent soundscape that lingers long after the final frame. Jerry Goldsmith's Star Trek Nemesis score is a dark, dramatic farewell to both the Next Generation crew and the composer's storied Star Trek legacy. Marking his fifth and final entry in the franchise, Goldsmith balances orchestral intensity with electronic experimentation, reflecting the film's themes of identity, conflict, and loss. Shinzon's five-note theme shifts between melancholic oboe solos and militaristic brass, while frenetic battle cues pulse with urgent brass and pounding percussion. Moments of warmth emerge on A New Ending, which weaves Goldsmith's iconic Star Trek fanfare with a sorrowful reprise of Blue Skies. Though some found the score repetitive and overly reliant on electronics, expanded editions have revealed its thematic complexity. As a send-off for both Goldsmith and the Next Generation, Nemesis delivers an emotionally charged and technically intricate conclusion to one of sci-fi's most enduring musical legacies. Klaus Badelt's The Time Machine score is a sweeping fusion of orchestral grandeur, tribal rhythms, and electronic textures, mirroring the film's journey through H.G. Wells' Victorian romance to dystopian future. Anchored by a heroic brass motif, the score evolves with shimmering strings and ethnic percussion, reflecting the contrast between the Eloy's serenity and the Morlock's brutality. The love theme, introduced by Emma, carries a melancholic weight, later reinterpreted with choral elements to underscore the film's emotional arc. While some criticized its similarities to Goldsmith and Zimmer, expanded releases have unveiled its thematic depth, earning it a place among Badelt's most ambitious works. A richly textured and emotionally resonant score, The Time Machine captures both the wonder and sorrow of time's relentless march. Todd Davis's back-to-back scores for The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions, both released in 2003, expand upon the avant-garde foundation of The Matrix from 1999, fusing orchestral intensity with electronic and choral experimentation to reflect the trilogy's mythic climax. Reloaded bridges dissonance with harmonic evolution, featuring pulsating brass, Middle Eastern percussion, and electronic collaborations with Juno Reactor. Revolutions shifts towards a symphonic grandeur with Sanskrit chanting and sweeping choral crescendos, underscoring Neo's final journey. While some criticize the original album's omissions, expanded editions have restored Davis's full vision, cementing these scores as a benchmark for sci-fi music. Combining relentless rhythmic complexity with emotional depth, Reloaded and Revolutions remain among the most ambitious and influential soundtracks in modern film scoring. John Powell's score for Paycheck, which is based on a Philip K. Dick story, is a dynamic fusion of orchestral tension, electronic textures, and rhythmic complexity, elevating the film's action thriller narrative. Anchored by pulsating percussion, intricate synth layers, and a melancholic love theme, the score balances suspense with moments of emotional depth. Powell's blend of Bernard Herrmann-style suspense and Bond-esque brass swells gives the music a distinct identity, even as some initially dismissed it as derivative. Expanded releases, particularly the 2021 Deluxe Edition, have revealed its thematic sophistication, cementing Paycheck as an underrated gem in Powell's filmography, an electrifying mix of orchestral power and modernist innovation. Next up, Marco Beltrami's Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines score takes the franchise in a symphonic direction, replacing Brad Fiedel's iconic synth minimalism with orchestral intensity and choral grandeur. The result is divisive but ambitious reimagining with bombastic brass, eerie choral swells, and sparse electronic pulses. While the TX motif delivers an aggressive villain theme and JC theme attempts to capture John Connor's reluctant heroism, the absence of Fiedel's relentless industrial heartbeat left some fans dissatisfied. The score shines in its climactic cues, with the Terminator end credits offering a powerful orchestral take on the franchise's classic theme. Expanded releases have helped showcase its thematic depth, but Terminator 3 remains a polarizing entry, more Hollywood spectacle than cybernetic precision. Harold Closer's Aliens vs. Predator score embraces orchestral intensity, departing from the electronic minimalism of its predecessors in favor of brass-driven action and tribal percussion. The main theme offers a noble, militaristic anchor, while motifs for the Predator and Alien create distinct sonic identities. Despite standout cues like Antarctica and Alien Fight, critics found the score lacking the innovation of Goldsmith's Alien or Silvestri's Predator, dismissing it as generic. With no expanded release, its legacy remains limited, though its grand orchestral approach provides fleeting moments of thematic ambition. Graeme Revell's The Chronicles of Riddick score from 2004 expands his sci-fi palette with orchestral power, ethnic textures, and industrial grit. The heroic Riddick fanfare contrasts with the Necromonger's dissonant brass and percussion, while Middle Eastern vocals evoke mysticism. Critics praised its epic orchestral choral fusion, though some found it derivative of Gladiator and Planet of the Apes. The fragmented original album lacked key cues, yet unofficial releases sustain its cult status. Revell's ambitious score elevates the film's cosmic scope, solidifying its place in sci-fi soundtrack history. Harold Closer's The Day After Tomorrow from 2004 opts for orchestral solemnity over bombastic spectacle, contrasting previous Emmerich collaborations. Funeral brass theme and ethereal vocal motif add weight, while percussion-heavy action cues inject urgency. Critics praised its patriotic grandeur, but found it generic and underdeveloped, lacking the rhythmic intensity of, say, Independence Day. With no official expanded edition, its functional but forgettable legacy persists as a competent disaster score, overshadowed by Closer's later works. John Bryan's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind score blends orchestral intimacy, lo-fi textures, and experimental production, mirroring the film's fragmented narrative. The bittersweet waltz theme and memory motifs reflect emotional duality, while reverse tape effects and vinyl crackle evoke memory erasure. Featuring Beck's mournful cover of Everybody's Gotta Learn Sometime and the polyphonic spree's euphoric contrast of light and day, the soundtrack is both melancholic and transcendent, though initially polarizing. Its cross-genre influence and dreamlike cohesion cemented as a cult favorite. Marco Beltrami's I, Robot score blends orchestral power with electronic textures, crafting a rhythmic, adrenaline-fueled soundscape for the film's cybernetic conflict. Composed in just 17 days, it features a haunting minor key main theme, frenetic brass-driven action, and ethereal choral climaxes. Praised for its technical ambition, but critiqued for uneven cohesion, the score actually won the IFMCA award for Best Sci-Fi Score. While polarizing, its mix of Goldenthal-esque intensity and Goldsmith-inspired precision secures its place in sci-fi soundtrack lore. Graeme Revell's Aeon Flux score from 2005 fuses orchestral tension with electronic experimentation, reflecting the film's dystopian sci-fi aesthetic. Composed in 2 weeks, under tight deadlines, it features a minimalist 4-note Aeon motif, haunting choral textures, and industrial synth rhythms. Praised for its atmospheric intensity, but criticized for fragmented execution, the score remains a testament to Revell's ability to craft evocative soundscapes under pressure, though overshadowed by his more cohesive works. Joby Talbot's score for The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is as wildly eclectic as Douglas Adams' universe itself, blending orchestral bombast, electronic oddities, and playful genre pastiche. With brass fanfares, whimsical strings, and cosmic synth textures, the music mirrors the film's mix of absurdity and adventure. Nostalgia plays a role too. Talbot reimagines Journey of the Sorcerer, an iconic theme from the original BBC series, grounding longtime fans in familiar territory. From the grandiose choral swells of Whom Is Him to the jazzy satire of So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, the score refuses to sit still, much like its reluctant hero Arthur Dent. While some critics found the soundtrack as structurally chaotic as the Infinite Improbability Drive, its bold creativity and irreverent charm have made it a cult favorite, fitting for a film about the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. John Williams' score for Revenge of the Sith is a grand operatic farewell to the prequel trilogy, seamlessly bridging the saga's past and future through powerful orchestration and choral intensity. The London Symphony Orchestra and London Voices bring sweeping emotion to new themes like Battle of the Heroes, a relentless tragic duel motif echoing Duel of the Fates, while Anakin's betrayal and immolation scene mournfully chart his descent into darkness. Nostalgic callbacks to the Force theme in the Imperial March foreshadow the rise of Darth Vader, cementing the score's role as a musical turning point in the Star Wars timeline. Though some critics noted its fragmented pacing, Revenge of the Sith stands as one of Williams' most intense and thematically layered compositions, perfectly capturing the operatic tragedy at the heart of the story. David Newman's score for Serenity, the film based on the Firefly TV series, is a genre-bending fusion of orchestral grandeur, electronic tension, and ethnic instrumentation, perfectly complementing the film's unique blend of space opera and Western influences. Crafted under intense deadlines, Newman's compositions weave mournful cello quartets, pulsating percussion, and haunting out-of-tune piano motifs to reflect the film's themes of survival, freedom, and fractured identity. The score's hybrid soundscape, combining Middle Eastern strings, Zydeco rhythms, and industrial sampling, mirrors the ragtag crew's nomadic existence, grounding the vastness of space in human emotion. Though some critics found it structurally fragmented, the expanded editions have revealed its full thematic depth, securing Serenity as a cult favorite entry of sci-fi film scoring. John Williams' score for Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds abandons traditional heroic themes in favor of relentless tension and atmospheric dread, perfectly mirroring the film's apocalyptic alien invasion. Marking his 21st collaboration with Steven Spielberg, Williams crafts a soundscape dominated by skittering strings, brass clusters, and militaristic percussion, while eerie choral elements heighten the terror of the tripod attacks. The absence of a conventional melody reflects the film's chaos, with five-note rhythmic motif embodying the alien's implacable menace. Though initially divisive, the score's avant-garde approach has gained recognition, especially in the 2020 expanded edition, which restores omitted cues and enhances thematic cohesion. A bold departure from Williams' more melodic works, War of the Worlds stands as an unsettling yet masterfully crafted testament to survival and despair. Graeme Reynolds' score for Scanner Darkly, based on the Philip K. Dick novel, is a mesmerizing fusion of acoustic instrumentation and electronic experimentation, embodying the animated film's themes of paranoia, addiction, and fractured identity. Composed in Reynolds' home studio, the music blends live piano strings and tribal percussion with processed glitch effects and warped vocal samples. The dissonant, jittery rhythms mirror the protagonist's unraveling reality, while distorted guitars drive the film's more chaotic moments. Radiohead's Black Swan and Pull Revolving Doors amplify the film's existential unease, complementing Reynolds' genre-defying approach. While initially divisive, the 2017 vinyl reissue refined its narrative cohesion, solidifying A Scanner Darkly as a cult classic in experimental film scoring. Susumu Hirasawa's score for Paprika is an avant-garde masterpiece, blending experimental electronics, Vocaloid innovation, and orchestral textures to mirror the film's surreal exploration of dreams and reality, which famously influenced Christopher Nolan's Inception. Built around the hypnotic, looping motif of Parade, the score utilizes synth pulses, glitch effects, and Vocaloid vocals to create an otherworldly atmosphere. Tracks like The Girl and Byakuya fuse ethereal vocals with minimalist rhythms, while Meditational Field employs ambient textures that oscillate between dissonance and serenity. Hirasawa's use of the Amiga 4000 and Lola Vocaloid marked a pioneering moment in film scoring, setting a precedent for digital vocal synthesis in cinema. Though initially polarizing, the soundtrack's lasting influence, echoed in works like Inception, cements Paprika as a landmark in electronic and anime music, with its 2023 vinyl reissue further solidifying its cult status. Dario Marianelli's score for V for Vendetta masterfully fuses orchestral intensity with electronic experimentation and classical grandeur, reflecting the film's dystopian themes of rebellion and revolution. The soundtrack's defining moments include Remember, Remember, which integrates Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture with swelling choral arrangements, and Evie Reborn, a hauntingly minimalist piano and string piece symbolizing Evie's transformation. Tracks like The Dominoes Fall employ subtle synth textures to heighten tension, while Valerie delivers an emotionally devastating orchestral progression. Though the original release faced criticism for omitting key tracks, the 2023 Deluxe Edition restored crucial material like the Red Diary, solidifying the score's thematic depth. Marianelli's evocative compositions transcend the film's mixed critical reception, ensuring V for Vendetta remains a landmark in dystopian film music, its revolutionary spirit resonating long after the credits roll. The Children of Men soundtrack weaves together John Tavener's haunting orchestral minimalism and an eclectic mix of rock, electronic, and classical pieces to underscore the film's dystopian themes of societal decay and fragile hope. Tavener's Fragments of a Prayer, a 15-minute choral epic performed by the London Symphony Orchestra, serves as the film's spiritual core, while tracks like King Crimson's The Court of the Crimson King and Deep Purple's Hush provide ironic counterpoints to the bleak narrative. The soundtrack's omissions, including key songs by Aphex Twin and Radiohead, frustrated some fans, but its overall impact remains profound. Despite early criticism of its fragmented structure, the score and curated songs have gained cult status, with Tavener's ethereal compositions and the film's use of rock anthems influencing modern dystopian cinema. Whether through the melancholic strains of Eternity's Sunrise or the apocalyptic echoes of Penderecki's Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima, the Children of Men soundtrack transcends its medium, offering a sonic meditation on despair and resilience. David Julian's score for The Prestige in 2006, based on Christopher Priest's sci-fi masterpiece, embraces a minimalist, atmospheric approach, emphasizing mood over melody to mirror the film's themes of obsession and deception. Reuniting with Christopher Nolan after Memento and Insomnia, Julian crafts a haunting soundscape with droning strings, sparse piano, and processed synths, evoking unease and mystery. Tracks like Are You Watching Closely builds suspense with swelling orchestration, while The Light Field introduces glitchy electronics to reflect Tesla's experiments. Though praised for its hypnotic tension, some critics found it monotonous and thematically sparse. Despite no official expanded edition, the score has gained a cult following for its restrained yet eerie contribution to Nolan's mind-bending storytelling. James Newton Howard's score for I Am Legend masterfully balances orchestral gravitas with minimalist textures, capturing the film's themes of isolation, survival, and fragile hope in a desolate world. The melancholic main theme, introduced in My Name is Robert Neville, is carried by intimate piano motifs, underscoring the protagonist's solitude. In contrast, tense, dissonant brass and percussion define the looming presence of the Darkseekers, as heard in Darkseeker Dogs. The score's restraint is one of its greatest strengths, with moments of near silence amplifying the weight of loneliness, while emotionally charged crescendos like I'm Listening provide a rare sense of warmth. Although the original album's 45-minute runtime was criticized for omitting key cues, Howard's composition remains a highlight of the film, offering a nuanced and introspective counterpoint to its blockbuster action sequences. While debates over the film's ending persist, I Am Legend's score endures as a haunting meditation on human resilience, demonstrating Howard's signature ability to fuse emotional depth with technical sophistication. Mark Isham's score for Next, based on a Philip K. Dick story, delivers a suspenseful blend of orchestral and electronic elements reflecting the film's themes of precognition and government pursuit. The soundtrack's use of pulsing synth textures and minimalist piano motifs mirrors protagonist Chris Johnson's fragmented visions of the future, while traditional orchestral cues underscore action and emotional depth. Tracks like 809 and Give Me 2 Minutes likely highlight Johnson's ability to foresee events, building tension through layered rhythms and atmospheric electronics. While the score functions effectively within the film, it has remained relatively overlooked in Isham's extensive career, receiving little critical attention beyond upon release. Despite this, its fusion of classical and modern film scoring techniques aligns well with the film's sci-fi thriller aesthetic, making it a serviceable yet unremarkable entry in the genre. Steve Jablonsky's score for Transformers, the first movie, delivers a grand fusion of orchestral power and electronic textures, perfectly complementing the film's epic sci-fi action. Heroic brass fanfares and ethereal choral elements elevate the Autobots' theme, while deep, ominous brass motifs establish the menace of the Decepticons. Tracks like Arrival to Earth stand out for their emotional depth, balancing sweeping strings with cinematic crescendo that has since become a fan favorite. Initially unavailable at release, the score's overwhelming demand led to a Warner Brothers Records release in 2007, followed by an expanded edition featuring unreleased cues. While some critics noted repetition in the electronic elements, the soundtrack's thematic strength and orchestral grandeur have cemented it as a defining work in modern blockbuster scoring. Jablonsky's music remains a cornerstone of the Transformers franchise, with its motifs continuing to shape the series' soundscape. John Murphy and Underworld's score for Sunshine is a masterful blend of orchestral grandeur and electronic experimentation, perfectly capturing Danny Boyle's film's balance of cosmic awe and existential dread. The haunting Adagio in D minor has since become an iconic piece, frequently repurposed in trailers and other media for its swelling strings and ethereal synth textures. Murphy's orchestral elements, particularly in Canada's Death, provide an emotional backbone, while Underworld's ambient electronic contributions adds a sense of eerie vastness. Initially delayed due to legal issues, the soundtrack's eventual digital release in 2008 was met with widespread acclaim. Though overlooked at the time, Sunshine's score has since achieved cult status, influencing modern sci-fi scoring and cementing its place as a defining work in the genre. Michael Giacchino's contribution to Cloverfield is a unique case of modern film scoring, as the movie itself features almost no original music. However, his end credits piece, Roar, Cloverfield Overture, serves as a triumphant homage to classic kaiju scores, particularly the work of Akira Ifukube on Godzilla. Featuring bold brass fanfares, sweeping strings, and grand orchestral arrangement, Roar provides a dramatic, almost operatic conclusion to the film's found footage chaos. While some audiences may have missed it due to the abrupt nature of the movie's ending, the track has gained a cult following, standing out as a love letter to the monster movie genre. Though Cloverfield eschews a traditional film score to enhance its realism, Giacchino's single yet powerful contribution reinforces the film's connection to cinematic ancestors, ensuring its place in sci-fi horror history. Tyler Bates' score for The Day the Earth Stood Still, the remake in 2008, reimagines the soundscape of the sci-fi classic, blending orchestral grandeur with electronic textures to reflect the film's modern themes of environmental crisis and alien intervention. While Bernard Herrmann's iconic theremin-driven score from the 1951 original looms large, Bates takes a different approach, using synth elements and atmospheric tension rather than direct homage. The Hollywood Studio Symphony, under conductor Timothy Williams, delivers a soundscape of sweeping strings, brass, and pulsing electronic effects, with occasional theremin flourishes as a subtle nod to Bernard Herrmann's legacy. Tracks like Surgery incorporate this instrument during key moments, while The Day the Earth Stood Still builds to a climactic fusion of orchestral and electronic elements. Though some purists lamented the absence of Herrmann's signature motifs, Bates' modernized score effectively complements the remake's darker tone, prioritizing tension and emotional depth over nostalgia. While it may not have attained the same legendary status as its predecessor, the soundtrack stands a fitting reinterpretation for a contemporary audience. John Powell's score for Jumper in 2008 merges orchestral vigor with electronic textures to enhance the film's themes of teleportation and relentless pursuit. As his third collaboration with director Doug Liman, Powell composed an energetic soundtrack performed by the Sydney Symphony Orchestra under the baton of Brett Waymark. The score incorporates driving percussion and synth elements to reflect the protagonist's rapid movement across space. Notable tracks like Coliseum and Jumper for Life showcase Powell's signature ability to blend dynamic action with emotional undertones. While praised for its engaging orchestration, some critics found it less memorable compared to Powell's Bourne series. The album's relatively short 44-minute runtime left fans hoping for an expanded edition. Despite mixed reception, Powell's Jumper score remains an exciting fusion of orchestral and electronic film scoring, aligning with the movie's contemporary sci-fi premise. Also in 2008, we get Thomas Newman's score for WALL-E, the Pixar film, masterfully blending orchestral warmth with futuristic textures, capturing the film's themes of isolation, love, and environmental renewal. As his second collaboration with Pixar, Newman utilized the Hollywood Studio Symphony along with unique instruments like the valija and the Aeolian wind harp to craft a distinctive sonic landscape. Notable tracks such as Defined Dancing and Down to Earth highlight the score's emotional depth and technical creativity, with Peter Gabriel's contribution winning a Grammy Award. While some critics found the short cues disjointed outside the film, WALL-E's score remains a defining example of storytelling through music, earning 2 Oscar nominations and cementing its place in Pixar's musical legacy. Clinton Shorter's score for District 9 from 2009 masterfully fuses orchestral, electronic, and ethnic textures to reflect the film's themes of alien apartheid and social unrest. Composed in just 3 weeks, the soundtrack utilizes the Hollywood Studio Symphony alongside African percussion and haunting synth elements to create a raw, immersive soundscape. Tracks like District 9 and The Compound highlight the score's dark, rhythmic intensity, while Harvester Battle incorporates tense action cues. Though not as instantly recognizable as some sci-fi scores, District 9's soundtrack remains a standout for its innovative blending of South African influences with futuristic sound design, earning praise for its atmospheric depth and unique sonic identity. Another biggie from 2009 is James Horner's score for Avatar, a masterful blend of orchestral majesty, ethnic instrumentation, and innovative vocal textures, mirroring the film's immersive world of Pandora. Collaborating with James Cameron for the third time, Horner crafted an expansive sonic landscape featuring panpipes, indigenous flutes, and Navi-inspired choral chants, seamlessly woven with the Hollywood Studio Symphony's grand orchestral foundation. Tracks like Becoming One of the People highlight the fusion of ethereal vocals and lush string arrangements, while War delivers a powerful 11-minute action set piece. Despite some critiques of its similarities to Titanic, the score's emotional depth and world-building innovations have cemented its place as a defining work in modern sci-fi film music. Clint Mansell's score for Moon, a personal favorite of mine, is a hauntingly minimalist and emotionally evocative work that perfectly encapsulates the film's themes of isolation and existential introspection. Dominated by a looping 5-note piano motif, the soundtrack balances stark repetition with gradual evolution, mirroring protagonist Sam Bell's fractured reality. Ethereal string swells and eerie electronic textures enhance the score's psychological tension, while tracks like Welcome to Lunar Industries subtly build upon its hypnotic atmosphere. Though some critics found the score thematically sparse, its meditative quality and ability to stand alone as a listening experience have earned it cult status. The 2019 live performances and vinyl reissues further solidified its reputation as a modern sci-fi classic. Michael Giacchino's score for the Star Trek reboot in 2009 revitalizes the franchise with bold orchestral sound that fuses nostalgia with modern blockbuster energy. Led by heroic brass fanfare, sweeping strings, and militaristic percussion, the score balances reverence for Alexander Courage's original themes and fresh motifs tailored to J.G. Abrams' high-octane vision. The inclusion of an erhu for Vulcan sequences adds an ethereal texture, with choral flourishes heightening the stakes. While some purists found the music too action-heavy, Giacchino's dynamic approach has cemented Star Trek from 2009 as a landmark in contemporary sci-fi scoring, bridging the past and the future of the iconic series. Danny Elfman's score for Terminator Salvation reimagines the franchise's soundscape with a blend of orchestral intensity and industrial grit. While brass-heavy motifs, aggressive percussion, and eerie electronic textures create a brooding, post-apocalyptic atmosphere, the absence of Brad Feidel's iconic Terminator theme polarized fans. John Connor's somber brass motif and Marcus Wright's ethereal string passages provide thematic depth, but some critics found the score disconnected from the series' musical legacy. Though technically ambitious, Elfman's Terminator Salvation remains a sort of divisive entry in the franchise, favoring original sonic world-building over nostalgia. So that's my roundup of sci-fi soundtracks of the 2000s. What are your favorites from that decade? I would love to know. Leave a comment. Let's talk about it. And while you're at it, like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications of future videos. The next one will cover the 2010s, which includes movies like Inception and Interstellar, as well as other franchise entries such as the more recent Star Wars films and the Star Trek sequels to the reboot. So there's plenty to look forward to in that video. For that video, I think I may just actually include the first half of this decade that we're presently living in. And then the episode after that will cover science fiction TV shows from throughout the history that we've covered. So probably everything from the 1950s through present day. And this will include such classics as the original Star Trek show, Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, both the original and the reboot, Doctor Who, and then more contemporary shows that really push the boundaries of science fiction. And then beyond that, there will be a shorter final video in the science fiction series that takes a look at European science fiction, both the big screen and the small screen. More like cult favorites, really. And then beyond that, we'll be getting back to doing some composer-focused profiles like the early episodes of this channel. Until next time, keep collecting and keep listening.